James, first game for the Wallabies at the new stadium this weekend. How much pride do you guys take in getting the result here?
Oh, a lot of pride. We're coming off a good result last week down in Adelaide, and to be given the opportunity to play the first rugby game here at a new stadium in Sydney, it's going to be a special day. Playing against some big boys, a good team, and it's going to be a good game.
Who no doubt are pretty motivated after last week as well. How important is it for you guys to back up that performance?
We know the Springboks will respond. They'll come out and they want to play a good game. It's the nature of the beast. You tend to respond after a disappointment or a loss. So we're expecting a big game. We've been training pretty hard ourselves. So hopefully we can start the game strong like we did last week and get the crowd behind us.
I think it's the first time in nearly 50 tests you guys named back-to-back starting 15s. Just that continuity, how important is it just having this sort of settled? It's really settled, no disruptions over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's been different for us. The first half of the season, we seem to be changing our team quite a bit. Through injuries and players missing out on selection. So to be a settled squad and it gives us confidence. It definitely helps us with our preparation and gives us confidence going into the game. We saw last week that we started the game really strong, and that was coming off a really good week of preparation. So we're expecting, and hopefully, we produce the same sort of thing tomorrow.
So particularly in that front row, they've made a lot of changes, but the front row, Malcolm Marks coming in, how's that kind of changed? How do you think they're going to particularly start this game? Because for them, they've been slow starters throughout the year as well.
Oh, mate, their experience and all those players they brought in have like Malcolm, you touched on. A lot of experience there, so they're going to bring their usual game, big set piece, big kicking game, and that physicality around the middle. So, look, we know what's coming. It's just a matter about going out there and playing the game we want to play and put that into practice. So, we're going in the game there with an onus on ourselves to play the game we want.
You played a lot of different stadiums around the world. Which one to you is the most intimidating to play in? And do you foresee a time where this stadium could become that for the Wallabies?
Yeah, you're right. I have played in a lot of stadiums. Being in Queensland, the Suncorp's obviously up there, and I think as an opposition team, Eden Park's always been a tough outing for us. So, I can see this stadium turning into a fortress for us. A big Sydney crowd, passionate about their rugby, and that's what we plan to do is to make sure we play a game that not only are fans around Australia proud of, but the fans that come out and watch us play. So, fingers crossed we get that done tomorrow.
Early viewing, does it have that Suncorp kind of vibe, like right on top of you kind of thing?
Yeah, it's an awesome feel. I obviously walked out here this morning. The crowd, all the seats really feel on top of you. So I can only imagine what a full house will be like. The atmosphere will be humming. So I know all the boys are pretty excited about it. We're pretty keen to get out there and kick off.
Can that be the ingredient, you think, this week? You talked about the Springboks will want to bounce back after a loss. You guys bounce back after a loss. That's actually been the tale of the tape in the rugby championship, people winning and losing in different weeks. Can that vibe of a new stadium be the circuit breaker for you guys as far as not dropping off from where you were the last one?
Yeah, well, it's been a challenge for us this year. We haven't been able to back up a good performance with another one. And it's been spoken about this week. I'd like to be in a team where we don't rely on a stadium to get us up for a game, but it's naturally going to be a help for us. A new stadium, big crowd, sold out. Hopefully they're all Wallaby fans, but the key for us is backing up a good performance, and that's been our theme this week.
You said you talked about that sort of inconsistency and not being able to back up. What do you put it down to? Like, what are you sort of saying about it?
Well, I think throughout the year we've seen a lot of changes in the team as well. So there's been a lot of things happening around the team that haven't gone to plan in terms of injuries, selection, and whatnot. But as I said earlier, a bit of consistency there in the team can give us a really good platform to perform tomorrow. And once again, the onus is on us. It's a mindset. We've got to come out here and play well. It's as simple as that. But it's one thing saying it, and there's another thing doing it. So. Hopefully tomorrow we get the job done.
What have you made of the start to the rugby championships, you talk about the lack of consistency for the Wallabies, but that seems to be across the board.
Yeah, well, Argentina, proving they're a pretty tough team to beat. They obviously beat the All Blacks over in New Zealand on the weekend, and it goes to show you how tight this competition is. We got 4 of the best teams in the world going head to head, week in, week out. So, we're obviously coming off a good result, but I guess because it's such a short competition. Like each win and each backup win is crucial, and when you play at home, they're really important to get the win. So for us, going into the Bledisloe in the next month, we want to get a run into it.
Yeah,
this is normally.
I was just going to touch on that in terms of not looking. You're not obviously looking past Saturday, but obviously one eye on the Bledisloe, and given the All Blacks and their struggles, do you see this game as really important as building momentum for what might be your best chance to win a Bledisloe in 2 decades?
I think winning is a habit, and it does create momentum. So, we're obviously not looking ahead at the Bledisloe at all at the moment, but we want to be winning games. We want to be winning games for ourselves, but also our fans and the jersey. So at no point do you go out there and not try and win. That's probably the fundamental of why we do it, why we wake up in the morning, is to win a game of rugby. Momentum is a big thing in sport, and hopefully we gain a bit of momentum going into that clash with the All Blacks.
This is normally a question, say, for World Cup years, but I'll get in early.
Yeah.
The Northern Hemisphere teams did really well on their Southern tours this year, probably historically better than they ever. Do you think that the gap is closing between North and South? And is there anything you could put that down to, perhaps with the changes to Super Rugby over the last few years? Do you think that may have contributed to it?
I don't think Super's played a part in it, but I definitely think the gap's changed or closed. It just goes to show, the top 6, 8, 10 teams in the world are very competitive against each other, and that's what you want in rugby. It's a global game. It's the World Cup next year will be really interesting to see who really comes out on top, because I can see 6 teams there really pushing for the cup. So I don't know, mate. I see it as a really interesting factor for our game, because you want that competition. You don't want to know who's going to win on the day. So I feel like it creates a good vibe in the sport, and that's something we need.
Is that fighting the importance of consistency? So when you need to win a couple of games in a row, you can? Yeah, well,
you look at the World Cup, it's a tournament, and you got to win more than 2 in a row if you're going to win it. It's important, and as I said earlier, we go out there to play every game for a win, and that's important to us. But we understand there's a process to it, and knowing your job and doing your job are 2 different things. So, for us, consistency is a big work on for us at the moment. So, I'll admit that.
Are there little strategies you can do during the week to get yourself back into the same mindset you were last week, where you were kind of dirty and had limited pride sort of territory, you know what I mean? As opposed to, there's a good vibe after a win, right? So you want to try and...
Yeah, I think being honest in your review, we still want to get better as a rugby team. At no stage do we think we're the finished product, and I'm assuming everyone here knows that. But it's constantly being honest in reviewing every game, not as a loss, but obviously you get your learnings from a game. It's obviously better learning from a win than a loss, and that's the key for us, is obviously picking out the things that we need to improve on, and making sure we nail that the next week.
A lot of talk about the Rugby Australia war chest ahead of the home Rugby World Cup. You've played a lot of footy with Izzy, Marika now. We've seen it with Wendell, Lottie, Matt Rogers, the success. Do you support that sort of heading into such a big tournament on home soil?
I support anyone playing rugby. At any stage, most of those players played rugby at a junior level, so they weren't foreign from the game at all. But in terms of what's going on with the war chest, mate, I think I'm more concentrating on a 130 kilo prop coming down at me tomorrow, mate, than what's going on in the media. So, at the end of the day, we need our best players playing, but also we need to put the jersey first.
There were a few rumblings that some of the Rugby Australia boys were a little bit annoyed about that sort of war chest situation. You're saying that you haven't had that experience?
I wouldn't say we're annoyed. No. We're obviously aware of the media's the media, reports and stuff. But at no stage has it affected us. It's at the end of the day, as I said, like we got to play South Africa tomorrow. They're the defending world champions, so we got a job to do, mate.
When you look at someone like Marika, would you say he's close to probably the best performer in the green and gold probably this season? And do you see probably the way he's converted across that there could be an opportunity there?
Yeah, we call Marika the chairman. He's now the chairman of our team, so he actually thinks he's the captain as well. So he's a quality player. He's definitely one of our best. The boys love playing with him. So, like at the end of the day, we want to see rugby players who really want to wear the jersey. And I think that's the biggest thing is the jersey comes first and then we go from there.
Last couple, please.
Quickly on the line-out, mate, it kind of went awry last week. Have you put a lot of time into that?
Yeah, Dan's had us training pretty hard on the line-out, so it was a big part of our game that struggled on the weekend. And then, as I said earlier, you got to be honest there, and you got to get better because the Springboks are a good team, and they'll crucify you there if you don't get quality balls. So not only line-out, the scrum was under pressure at times, but I think, as I said, the set piece is just so important at Test match rugby. So we're expecting a big focus on that tomorrow.
That new stadium here in Sydney, how nice would it be to be running out for the Brumbies in the new stadium in Canberra?
So,
how nice would it be to be running out for the Brumbies in the new stadium in Canberra?
A new stadium in Canberra?
Yeah.
Oh, that's been on the cards for years, hasn't it? I think David Pocock's been pushing that pretty hard. So, I absolutely love playing down at GIO, but to get a new stadium down there closer into the city would be fantastic.